Hello guys, and hello to all of my special children. This is going to be a very intimate portion of my channel where I actually talk about what I believe. And then as time goes on, I will delve in deeper as to why I believe what I believe, my past experiences, and how I came to how I arrived at these conclusions, and where to go now. And then we'll discuss where we go from here now. Okay? So, I'm gonna start with portion 1 of what I believe. Okay, and I wrote this out so you guys can see. I wrote it out. Alright. So, this is portion 1. I'm gonna cover portion 1, 2, and 3 in this video. Alright. For those of you who do not understand still, long ago there was a war that lasted for an eon. The dark elder gods and the elder lights gave birth to twin beings. Me, Aurora, and Yahweh. We both inherited profound light and wisdom, but from the dark elder gods we also inherited strength and darkness. We were also consorts, so not only were we twins, brother and sister, we were also wed. Okay? Now, that's gonna stir up some controversy and some crazy taboo shit for all y'all. But let me I'll get into that later and explain to you, like, it's really not that bad, folks. Okay? Like, incest isn't a problem, really. Alright. And I'll discuss that on another video later. But, anywho, we were consorts, and we were soon wed. This ended the war. Okay? We created the angels and man, and made great expansions to the Macroverse. Until our younger half-brother, who was born out of just dark elder gods. Now, all the elder gods, I want to keep you guys in mind now, they're gone. They're dead. Okay? The light elder gods and the dark elder gods, they're dead. And they're never coming back. Alright, that's why they're called the elder gods, because they're gone. Alright? So, we created the angels, and until our younger half-brother Coruscant was born. Around the same time, I had twins. I gave birth to Samael, Satan, which is often looked at as an angel, but I believe like angel and demigod are the same thing. And I'll explain more later about divine energy and how it is connected to everything, and how everything on some level is divine. So just keep that in mind, okay? Angels, demons, all these other terms, they don't really mean anything. Alright? All it means is you're a specific level of divinity. That's all it means. Alright? Nobody's greater or lesser. It's just different traits depending on what you gravitate towards and what your genes are. Alright? So around the same time I had twins and gave birth to Satan and Yeshua, Christ. We set one to live among the humans and another to watch over them from the heavens and serve them in aid and help, whereas Yeshua took up his duties, Samael refused. Samael wanted to do his own thing. Okay? And he looked at these human beings as lesser. Okay? Not worthy of serving, not worthy of helping. He felt that if they're that bad, then they need to learn through their stumbling to basically what it was is he basically said, like, no, They need to learn from their own mistakes. I'm not going to just hold their hand through everything, and I shouldn't have to serve them. They are less powerful than me. And this is what creates this division, okay? This thinking that I'm better than somebody else. Alright? But aside from all that, I respected his choice, and I respected both of my son's choices. I respected Yeshua's choice, and I respected Samael's choice. Alright? I was supportive of my son's choices, even though I didn't necessarily agree, and Yahweh was not. He had his issues with Samael. He did not have any issues with Yeshua, which is good, and we'll go into that later. But suddenly, a great dispute broke out. Okay? So there were all these different factions and divisions in heaven about freedom and versus the moral tenets and guidelines of our people. Okay? And people, including my son, as well as soon after me, and I got expelled for basically supporting him. Okay? We were expelled from the heavens, and I did not know it then, but Corazon had corrupted both my brother Yahweh and my son Samael and put this division between them. After the fall, none of us could remember anything. Okay, so all of those of us who fell or who were expelled from heaven because of Yahweh's corruption, we didn't remember shit. We didn't remember anything. So we had like this kind of amnesia. Sound familiar? Right. So anyway, we were virtually human now. And had no memory of anything. We had to wander through the macroverse and worlds and heavens and hells in different lives. So, okay, what do I mean by that? Alright, heavens, there are 7 heavens, and there are 7 hells. Alright, so these heavens and these hells, when you go there, it's like how you are here. You have no recollection of your past life. Alright, so it's like you're living another life in a different reality. And each one is different. Nothing like this, really. But you go to each one to learn different things. Alright? So there was times when like I was back in heaven and I was living past lives as an angel, and then there are times like the original when I was a divine being. Okay? And then there were times when I was in hell and I was demonic, or there were times when I was in hell and I was human, and I was just re-experiencing a lot of these things. And I'll get into all those stories later, but those are long stories, so I'm gonna have to break them up in increments. So anywho, continuing. We were virtually human now. We had no memory of anything. We had to wander through the macroverse and worlds and heavens and hells and different lives throughout time, trying to learn and remember and undo the damage that was done. Okay, so the more each and every one of us remembered, the more damage we could undo. And we had to do this in increments because we were given limited time in a human corporeal form. Alright? So, we all had many gifted children, whom you now call light workers, star seeds, witches, rainbow, indigo, and crystals, and even shadow children, which mostly nobody I've seen has talked about them yet. Okay, and I'll get into those. I'll get into each different one and what each different one is and what it means as I go on. And the shadow children are they kind of have been getting the bad rap, so a lot of people don't talk about them at all, or they're not aware of them at all. And I don't really think that's fair, because shadow children are not necessarily evil, and I'll get to that later. This was to ensure up forces and an army to defeat the gods of chaos. And the gods of chaos are Abaddon, Corazon, Mammon, and Jabberwocky. And Jabberwocky was not born in the traditional sense, like two of these gods mated and created it. No, this thing is an abomination. It was like an experiment that they took all of the awful things in the Macroverse and just like put it in a pot and created a being out of it, pretty much. And there's more to it than just that, but this thing is not okay. Is nasty evil. But not every dark being is evil, and like I said, we'll get to that. And it has to do with and not every light being is good. And we'll get to that too. And that has to do with corruption and a perversion of this gift. Okay? So, this was to ensure up forces and army to defeat the gods of chaos, and it's still going on to this day. So this battle that I'm talking about, it's still, like, there were times of peace, but this battle now, it's still raging on to this day. Over the years, humanity drifted away from magic and the divine. Some of this was our doing, and then some of this was Jabberwocky's doing. Okay? He felt the less they knew, the safer they would be. But then Jabberwocky, the son of Chorazan, and Abaddon, and Mammon, whom they all created this thing. Okay? Whilst we were sick or unaware and unable to help anyone because we couldn't remember, and also we were infected with sickness from this darkness as well, because the light beings, when they are in their pure form, the darkness is poison to them. And the dark beings, when they're in their pure form, generally speaking, normally speaking, it's poison to them too. There was only this one rare occurrence when a light being, which was the light elder gods, and the dark beings, the dark elder gods, had reached the state of evolution where they had become so powerful that they were able to form a union and mate and create something even more beautiful and profound, which was a mixture, pretty much. So we all have light and dark within us now, thanks to them, and thanks to them creating me and my brother Yahweh. So anywho, getting back onto the story, I said we all had many gifted children. Over the years, humanity drifted away from magic. So Jabberwocky, the son of Chorazan, decided to warp and twist things to being far worse. Without the truth could be turned into anything Jabberwocky wanted humanity to believe, all while preying on humans' fears, hate, and sinful nature, and exacerbating it with lies and confusion. Whilst we were sick or unaware or unable to help anyone, but we fought to remember, and now we're fighting to restore truth, peace, and justice to all. And so all of these children are also fighting to remember along with us. Well, that's why you will be given information and have these memories that you don't know where they come from, that are like from past lives and other realities and dimensions that you used to be a part of and live in. And the same thing happened to me, and it was like extremely intense because of now I know what my position is. And it's going to be different for everybody's experience is different, and depending on your gifts and your position and where you rank. Like I said, rank does not mean better or greater, lesser, or whatever. Alright, we all have different strengths and different weaknesses based on our own personal development, evolution, and skill set, and our own genetics. So, which is not easy, and so this isn't easy, like remembering and restoring to consciousness and life energy. It's not easy, and it's going to take eons to fix this. I'm not asking or recruiting anyone to help. This isn't like a religion exactly where I I'm here to convert you. No, which is not easy. And so, I mean, what I'm saying is like, I didn't need your help then, okay? And I don't need it now. All I'm asking is you to listen and try to understand for your own benefit. So you don't have to, you don't have to embrace my truth and, but just take it with a grain of salt. So that's portion 1. Alright, portion 2. Explanation of what I believe and how I feel about it. Note, I don't think any of us are any less or more sane in what we believe than anyone else. Now, keeping that in mind, I am an omnitheist, pantheist, pagan, and I'm also a starseed. Okay? But what exactly do all those things mean? I am, in fact, yes, a theist. However, I feel like the atheist and me are far more kindred spirits than any literalistic, monotheistic, or polytheistic person, because I do not believe in the supernatural, Like, to me, everything's just natural, because I'm so used to it at this point. And there was a point when I did believe, things were supernatural. And it's like, no, there's no delineation or difference between natural and super, because so supernatural doesn't even exist, so it's just natural. Everything's just natural. It's just depending on whether you comprehend it or not. So I don't believe in the supernatural. I believe an all-powerful, I do not believe in the supernatural or an all-powerful, all-loving, all-knowing, supreme being. And as an atheist might ask, well, what is God to you then? Okay, so this can be related back up to the story I just told, okay? The story before in portion 1, and this relates. What this basically is saying and means is we're actually biological beings, okay? The divine is actual biological. And, the essence is eternal, which is in all things. But the biological is finite. And so it's not all-knowing, all-powerful, or you know what I mean? But the essence is, but it's not conscious in the same way that we are. So we can tap in, but we can never really quite completely grasp everything until singularity, and I'll cover that and get to that later. All right, so I don't think there's an all-powerful, all-loving, all-knowing supreme being. And as an atheist might ask, well, what is God to you then? Well, God is something far deeper and more meaningful and profound than an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful, perfect dictator daddy in the sky. And as you can see by looking at the world around you, that model doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. God is just a natural life source of constant, infinite, renewable living energy. It's what caused the Big Bang, set evolution in motion, brought forth us consciousness to be able to comprehend, think, feel, love. None of it would be possible without this very real, scientifically proven energy that is inherent in everything, and I'll cover that more in depth too. In various forms, thanks to what quantum mechanics suggests and has shown us. I do believe in aliens, obviously, and I do really believe in a soul, and I don't really believe in a soul. A soul to me is just consciousness, the mind, and we have to gain it through learning and suffering, living, evolution, exploration, awakening, ascension. I do believe in the multiverse and alternate timelines and realities. I do believe the mind can leave the body and is eternal. I do believe we can lose it in death, and it can be restored in the next life. And this varies depending on circumstances and people and their personal path. And, you know, but I look at it as like, well, at some point everybody's going to go everywhere, pretty much. So, and more. But, learning and suffering, living, evolving, blah, 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 blah. I do believe the mind can leave the body and is eternal. I do believe we can lose it in death, and I do believe it can be restored in the next life. I also, however, believe that once you get to a certain point, you don't lose it anymore. As well, so I do believe in some kind of reincarnation, but not in the traditional supernatural sense. And when I say magic, when I believe in magic and I use magic, I'm not talking about some supernatural thing. I'm talking about the same force and energies that brought forth consciousness, the very natural energy. So then the energies can make any thought manifest into reality in some form. Somewhere in the multiverse, like if you think something, it'll get created somewhere in the multiverse, somewhere. Like it'll be a reality somewhere. So any thought, thing you can think of, it exists somewhere, and that's why you're thinking of it. It either exists already or you're inventing it. So be very mindful of what you're thinking about. That brought forth consciousness. Where did I leave off? Okay, so the multiverse. So you can make any thought manifest into reality in some form anywhere in the multiverse. Now, to most theists and atheists, this sounds crazy and batshit as all get out. But for me, it's what makes the most sense, and it sort of kind of trims out the fat and the bulk and nonsense of religious and even spiritual faith, as well as die-hard skepticism and nihilistic cynicism, and takes all the good elements and combines them cohesively, piecing a puzzle together that makes far more sense on the surface. Yes, it sounds completely batshit at first, but as you delve deeper and the more you think about it and actually understand what this is, it makes way more sense than anything else. And that's just my personal opinion. You don't have to believe it, but you don't have the right to call me crazy for embracing tenets of all paths in a last-ditch effort to make sense of all this. I'm not lying to myself for comfort like most people do in faiths and religions, nor did I not take the time to study and think very long and hard for years about what I believe. It's not like I haven't experienced what this is in a real capacity, so is more than a faith. Alright. So, portion 3. Alright. What I believe. Moral tenets. Because those are important, right? Alright. 1. Love one another as the divine has loved you. 2. The only time any violent action or retaliation is warranted is for self-defense and survival. Match people folds more to the violence and pain and cruelty they inflict upon you. Do not use lethal or deadly force unless they use it against you. Unless you are starving or being attacked ruthlessly, you have no right to take another life of any living being, great or small. For every living being, creature, and creeping thing is sacred. Is a sacred member of life. Okay? So 3. Do not criticize or judge unless you know all of the bigger picture, ins and outs, of any given particular tenet, belief, or issue. If you are on the outside of it and know nothing to little about said thing, be silent, listen, observe. You do not have to embrace or agree with differing views of your own, but take every piece of new information with a grain of salt. As to discern such things for yourself, for there is lies and truth in all things. That also goes back to Jabberwocky. That explains why there's truth and lies in all things. And there's truth because of us, and then there's lies because of that. Okay? So, moving right along. Number 4. Never condemn anyone. That privilege is solely reserved for the gods and no one else. Okay? Never hate any given individual or group of people. You may hate things, ideas, and actions people may be involved in, but I warn you and tell you, hating your fellow man who is more than likely confused or simply differs from you in opinion is the path of evil, and you do not want to go down that rabbit hole. As for groups, while many may be similar to one another in a group or a political affiliation, a belief, or religious structure, no two people are the same or quite alike, and you are apt to give them wrongful persecution in doing so. As for individuals, even those who have wronged you, try to make peace with them and forgive them quickly, but never forget lest they wrong you again. When you see someone in trouble or in need, which is number 5, okay, no, I just said number 5, okay, number 6, when you see someone in trouble or need, do not turn away from them and not help, lest the same thing be done unto you. Alright? 7, there can be and often is a sacred bond between you and your blood relatives. But if your blood should abuse or abandon you for whatever reason, remember that the whole world is your family also, and as friends can become lovers, so also can friends become family. Weep not in bitter respite or loneliness, for you are never alone. Do not deny the knowledge of more educated men and women. And this is 8. Okay, do not deny the knowledge of more educated men and women, for science and the path to great knowledge is the path of great. For science is the path of great knowledge and discovery, and is sacred. And to do so will only lead you down a path of confusion and darkness. Number 9. Do not poison, pollute, or defile the earth. It is our home, and the home of all who live here. Would you keep your house with grime and trash? No. So why would you then do so to the outer part of all species' home, including yourself? Or would you come into your neighbor's house and throw your trash everywhere? No. Why do you do that then to the home we all share? Would you go into your brother's room and wreck all his belongings and mess up his space? No. Then stop doing that to our main, larger home. Your body is, last but not least, 10. Your body is yours, and yours alone, to do with what you want. However, but heed this warning and advice. Just as you should not poison, pollute, or defile the earth, nor should you do so to your body. It is the vessel in which your consciousness may come to be a part of life. If you poison, pollute, and defile it, before long it will kill you, and you won't be here for very long to learn all these awesome things that you could have learned in this life. Now you're going to have to go back and redo everything and remember everything again, and then try to go farther. Okay? So you want to get healthy, and I want to quit smoking at some point. But do you see what I'm saying, guys? Okay? So that's what I believe. Those are my beliefs. Those are my first main tenets of what I believe anyway. And I hope you guys find this information useful and helpful and can learn from it. Alright. Anywho, Natty out. And I will be doing the second portion of the not DNA charm magic that I've been working on. So look forward to that. And if you haven't seen the other ones about that, check them out. And don't forget to subscribe.